Okay, what I have up here on my screen right now is your responses from you signing in. I won't show your names here, but this kind of shows you, here's in column J, this is information that people want to know more about Google Classroom, Google Meets. And then if I go over here to column Q and R, here's where everyone is with their, where they feel, if they feel comfortable, if they're solid, if they're a newbie. So as you can see, we've got a wide array of different abilities out there. I think that'll be fine, and hopefully we can differentiate as much as possible. So let me go ahead and jump into the slide deck here. So this is the slide deck that you all should have received. The link I had in the chat. If it's easier for you to sign in twice to work from your own screen, that's fine. You can always minimize my screen and on your screen, and then open up another window and have two windows side by side on your screen as well. So lots of different ways you can go about looking at and interacting with today's workshop. Our agenda for today is the sign-in sheet. I have it here on the slide deck in case if you didn't see it in chat. We are going to go over Google Meet and Google Classroom. I do have an introduction slide deck here for you. If you can, I'm not going to spend much time on it right now, but if you have the ability, while you're listening to me get started, feel free to go ahead and jump in and introduce yourself here on the slide deck. Again, I don't mean to stress anyone out. If you're not for sure how to insert a selfie or a YouTube video, don't worry about doing that. But if you still want to pick a slide that no one else is working on, feel free to do that and fill out your name and some fun facts about you. So if that stresses you out, for you newbies out there, don't panic. You can have it open and watch as some of the other educators in our workshop today as they're filling this out. If I have time at the end, I will talk more about this. So that was the introductions. And then throughout the training today, feel free to ask questions, put them in chat. If someone can help me monitor the chat, I've got two screens here. So my other screen has my chat room on it, so I don't see it every single second when I'm presenting. So if the same question is being asked again, or you need me to show you something again, please put it in chat, and then hopefully someone out there feels comfortable interrupting me if you're seeing some of the same questions in there that I haven't answered. Again, here on slide 3, I've got the sign-in sheet. I've got the link right here for the slide deck. And as you can see throughout the slide deck, or you will be able to see throughout the slide deck, I do try to put, you'll see some repetition, that you'll see the introduction to the slide deck a couple different places. You will see the evaluation a couple different places. So feel free to do that even within your own remote learning, or even face-to-face, that there's multiple places where the students can get the same information. I started to do that because if you think about technology, with the technology that we're using, there's several different ways to do the same thing. So I thought, well, how about having, links to some of the same things on different slides. If you want to access the slide deck after today, all you have to do is when you put it here in a new tab, as long as you put it in, if you have Google Chrome web browser open and you put the link in that and you're signed into your Google account, you can save this right to your Google Drive. If you haven't signed in, you can, there's other ways we can do this, but let me dismiss this. Right up here to the right of the star, there should be a triangle with a plus sign. Mine is still loading. That triangle with the plus sign right here at the top of the screen here, lets you add this shortcut to your drive. Do you see my mouse up here at the top? It's to the right of the title and to the right of the star. When you add the shortcut to Drive, that will then allow you to, it saves it and then you can access it later. So think of your Drive as your file cabinet. This is tied to your Google account. You've got to be signed in over here. If you're not signed in, then go ahead and click sign in and sign into your Google account. Another option you can do if you don't want to save this to your Google Drive is to come up here to the star and you can bookmark it. You can put it on the bookmark bar or you can put it wherever you would like. And then if I hit done, it's right here on my bookmark bar. So a couple different ways that you can save this slide deck so you can access it later. Another thing then, I've got an evaluation that you'll complete at the end of the workshop. I've got it here and then I'll have it on another slide later on. And then this recording, you will be able to find this on my YouTube channel after probably this evening here. But if you click on the YouTube channel, anytime you click on these links in a slide deck and you're not in presentation mode, you have to click twice. So if I click here once and then click here, that is the link. And then that will take you to my YouTube channel that you can see all of the different recordings of different workshops. So I did do a 2-hour recording of Google Meet. So if you're wanting to go into it more in depth, maybe take a look at this Google Meet recording here to see if that will help you. We will talk about it. I will tell you the 2 hours will go fast. So again, if I don't, get all of your questions answered, you can stay on after the workshop too, or look at the recordings. Here on slide 4, I have a few more links here to other opportunities for you. Here I've got another link to the YouTube channel as well. So check those out. So real quick, I'll introduce myself. My name is Lisa Schwartz. This is my 22nd year in education. The first 19 years I did spend in the classroom teaching 6th through 9th grade and various subjects. Majority of the time I did teach computers and computer science and using the Microsoft platform. The last few years I was in the classroom, I did introduce Google to my students, and my students saw me not only as a teacher, but a learner, because I was learning about Google with them. And I will tell you, I made lots of mistakes. Do I still make mistakes? I do. Another thing, I don't have all of the answers to your questions, but hopefully I can show you the process of finding out some of those answers if I don't know them. Currently, I am working with the Learning Technology Center. It is a program of ISB, and it's been around 20+ years. My role as a regional ed tech coordinator is helping school districts with PD around technology. So feel free, if you want to bring me or one of my coworkers to your school district, reach out to us and we would be glad to do that. I know over the course of, since the past month, I've been working with a lot of school districts doing some face-to-face instruction and some remote instruction. Here on slide 6, I've got the collaborative assignment, the introduction slide deck. If you, again, want to experiment with that, you can. Slide 7 and 8 talks about the LTC. Again, some more links here to learn more about that. All right, so I'm going to take a look at the chat. So was everyone able to get the bit.ly link then for the sign in and the slide deck? I'll put it in one more time. So if you're not getting any links, you might have to copy and paste them. Oh, okay. If that's the case, if you can't access the links, if you want to put your email in here and maybe someone can help me out by emailing it to you, or I can take a break and email it to you as well. All right. So you want to make sure anytime you are starting, using Google, that you or your students are always signed into Google. Another thing, sometimes kids say, well, I can't access this, or they send you an email to request access. Make sure that they are always using their school Google account. So if I come up here to my picture icon, this shows my account. I'm in my work account, the ltcillinois.org account. I can also put other accounts here if I need to. My suggestion is don't add other accounts. This is where we got into trouble with students when they couldn't access some stuff through school, is it would try to open it up through their personal account. So if you do have other accounts here, make sure you're signed out of all of them while you're working in one account. The best way to do this, though, is to add different people instead of adding several accounts to your school account. So how I access my personal account, I don't even access it from my from this page right here. I've added a person. That extra person I added was my personal account. So right here, if you look up here in my Google Chrome profile, I've got my, this is my personal account. I added this person, which is my personal Gmail account. And then right down here, I've got that tied to my personal Google account so that I don't have other accounts. Usually right here, you do see another account, but I usually I have that signed out usually so that it doesn't on the back end maybe save accidentally to another account. Another thing that comes up here is when kids are working on a shared computer at home, whether it's their parents or another sibling, that it might not, it might say that they don't have access to it. So always remember, make sure you're logged into Chrome and it's tied to your Google account that you want to work in. If this doesn't make sense now, don't panic. Sometimes how we learn is when things happen and you think, oh yeah, that lady talked about something with the Google account. Here's a couple different links here you can go back to if this ever happens to you, or you can Google it. Here on slide 10 and 11, this talks about Google's mission and their, they're wanting to increase the opportunities with the 4 C's. There's been a 5th C out there called curation that, students and educators can curate material, and it just helps with that as well. Now, you may hear today me talk about apps and extensions. If you don't know the difference, don't panic. I've got this link right here that you can go to a table that explains the difference between apps and extensions. So it's right here, click on that if you need that. Slide 12 and 13, here's some of the different tools out there that you can use within the G Suite apps for education. Okay. All right. All right, Stephanie, I will get that email to you. Or has someone else emailed it to you, Stephanie? All right. Not yet, okay. Let me switch over, I'll email that to you real quick. I'll stop sharing my screen. Let's see. All right, Stephanie, you should hopefully receive it shortly. All right, so here with Google Meet, This, right now until September 30th, they have pushed out, and when I say they, Google has pushed out the premium features for all of us, even me, even you. I just use the free G Suite apps for education account, and many school districts do as well. Google has two different G Suite apps accounts. They have an enterprise account, which there's fees it costs, and then they have the free version, the G Suite apps for education that most of us use. So right now, we can have up to 250 participants. After September 30th, that's their date that they're going with. It could change. They're only allowing us to have up to 100 participants. But you've got some of these other features here listed on slide 15. You can go over to your apps and go to Google Meet right there, or there's other ways you can go to that, and I'll talk about that today here. But kind of very similar to Zoom, you can share your screen, you can mute or remove participants. It can work across any device, whether that you're using or your students are using. You got the chat room available like we do today in Zoom. You can share files and links, and you can even record meetings. And when you record meetings in Google Meet, it does put it in your Google Drive. I will tell you, I'm just more comfortable using Zoom. That's what I've been using for the last 2-3 years. Have I used Google Meet? I have. I used it actually 2 or 3 times last week. It's just like with anything, the more you use it, the more comfortable you'll get with it. There are some things that I like in Google Meet. So it's just like with any app out there. There's pros and cons compared to other apps out there. Zoom is mainly video conferencing, so they've spent a little bit more effort in keeping that up to date and getting it up to par. Google Meet has made a lot of advances here in the last couple months because schools and students and teachers are using it more than ever. So one thing I like about that is, Google has pushed out updates to that since March. Here on slide 16, I've linked up all of the updates since April that if you want to, you can go back and take a look at. There's some accessibility features here, security with Google Meet, and then if you've heard, there's differences between chat, Hangouts, and Meet. So feel free to take a look at those. In the July updates, again, they haven't pushed all of these updates out. I was just reading this morning that some people think it's going to be tomorrow, but I would think here within the next few weeks that we will see updates with Google Meet. Who knows, we'll log in today and we might see some of the updates today. But they're also adding hand raising. You've got the 16-person tile view here. There's meeting attendance that they're going to launch, breakout rooms. So again, take a look at this. I'm not going to read through it. I'm going to show you some examples and talk about it. But this, I've got all of these links here for you to access if you so choose. Now, besides going to the app to access Google Meet, you can go to your calendar and add a Google Meet from there. You can go from your Gmail and add a Google Meet from there. If you use chat, you can go from there as well, or you can go from Classroom. So working with students, I would think Google Classroom is the best place to go for the Google Meet, and that's where I'm going to spend the majority of the time here when I talk about Google Meet, because you can make it visible to students. So the students will have it visible on their Google Classroom, and again, you don't have to go out and create the link. So let me go into my classroom and we'll talk about it from there. So when I am in my Google Classroom, and do you see, you can just come up here. I went to a new tab and just started typing Classroom, and I've got it right up there. I could have just gone over here to the plus sign and came to my classroom here. As you can see, I've got Meet here, but I'm not even going to go into Meet from here right now. I'm going to do it from my classroom. So let's say I'm going to meet with my 17 students out of my Google 101 class today. I'll go into that, and let's say we're meeting at 10 o'clock. The kids know it, I know it. So all we have to do, the students and the teacher, is click on this link right here in the Google Classroom. I don't have to go and take time to create a link, add a time to it, and add people to that. If I know I'm meeting with my students, they can just get it from the Google Classroom. So all I would have to do is click on here. Now let me switch to a student screen here. And if I go to Blake's student account here, let me pull it up here. All right. It's taking it over to my other screen. Hold on, here we go. All right, so here's Blake's account. So if I go into his classroom, so he's the student, and let's say it's 10 o'clock and he knows he needs to meet, it's time to meet with the class. So all he has to do is go into the classroom and click on this meet link. Now you might say, why is he getting this error? He's getting this error because what Google Meet has done is they, and when I say they, the students cannot get into the Meet until the teacher is there. So they get, hey, something went wrong. So it's saying if you're joining a meeting from Google Classroom, wait for your teacher to join and then refresh the page. So sometimes teachers plan out, and you might want to think about this, is they may say, well, 10 minutes before the class, I'll get on. And then that will give them a chance to maybe ask you questions, or even just have some informal chance for the students to chat and talk amongst each other before class starts. So you've got, he went right here to the Google Classroom and went to the Google Meet. He can't get in right now because the teacher's not there. But once the teacher gets there, so I'll go over back to the teacher screen. So let's say it's time to meet, or it's maybe 10 minutes before class. I click on that as the teacher, and then it loads up my Google Meet. And then as this is starting, it's saying no one else is here because the kids can't be there yet until the teacher is. So click join now. So right here, even though from Classroom, you know, could students join in from the phone? They can. I can copy this joining information as well. And right now, this only students within your school district should be allowed in your Google Meet for the safety and security of the students. I can add people from right here, but normally, if you're joining from your classroom, you don't have to worry about taking the extra time to copy this info, sending it out to anyone, and or add people. So then let me go back to Blake's account. And remember, Blake's the student here. So he goes back, he can either refresh his page right here, or if he goes and clicks on this again, it should work. So let me just refresh or reload the page. And then do you see the difference now? It's letting him in. It didn't let him in before because the teacher wasn't there. I'm going to mute both of these since I'm working off of the same computer here. And so right now, then Blake saying the teacher's in the call, and then now Blake can join. So this is the student account. As you can see with the student, he's got they can have closed captioning on. Right now, closed captioning won't work because I have muted it. The student can present now as well. And then the student also has these 3 dots here. They can change the layout, full screen, turn on captions here. They've got settings here. They can use phone for their audio if they need to. But if you change the layout, that's just the layout of the screen. And then right up here, you've got the people icon. You can click on that. You can see who's in the Google Meet. Right now, the microphone is muted on both people. Here, again, we've got add people. And this is from the student account, but it would have to be someone from the same organization. So if they wanted to, as you can see, Blake is inviting you to join a video meeting happening now. Your school district may, on the back end, if they can disable that, that may be disabled. And then so send email. But kids couldn't invite other people from outside of your organization, your school district. Up here, we've got chat as well. The chat's down here. Can type a message just like you can in Zoom. But it's just, again, a different app, so there's a little bit different interface. Another thing I have on here is I have pushed out a few extensions. You won't see this on your screen unless if this extension's pushed out. This I pushed out a while ago that, if they have a question or they agree with something, they can give a thumbs up. So here's the raising their hand, but the thumbs up. There's also other emojis here. So here's another way the kids can communicate with each other in the Meet. And this is using the extension nod. Don't panic that you'll have to remember all of this. But this is the student side of it. Again, they can mute or unmute themselves. They can leave the call here. They can turn off the camera here as well. Turning off the camera might help. Let me go ahead and do that right now. For some students, if they are having internet issues. So if that might help, give that a try for the students to turn off the camera. Okay. So if I go back here to the teacher screen, I've got some other extensions up here. This also tells me Blake is here. If I go here, this is where I can show the grid view, so I could have multiple people here on my screen. Again, I've got the person icon, the people, so I can see 2 people's in here. Again, I can see the chat. So Blake said hi, I can respond back and say hi, and the chat's just right there. Again, the teacher's got access to the closed captioning, present now. And for the teacher, I don't know if it was for the student too, I think so. They can choose whether they present their entire screen, just one window. If they've got multiple windows, they can just present from one window open, or just from one tab. They don't have to have their whole screen showing if they just want a tab to show. So let me, right up here also, if you see, I have this extension here, and I have some other extensions that I've added. Any extension that I want added, I have to push out to the students as well. Again, majority of the school districts, your Google admin, your administrator who controls your Google account would have control over pushing out extensions. And the reason for that is because the safety and security for your students, we have to abide by the Student Online Privacy Protection Act, and there's some other acts and laws out there. So hopefully your district and your tech person knows about what extensions they can push out. They'll probably vet it to make sure that, to see what data these extensions are collecting. So here's one. Blake didn't have this one on his account. It's just confetti. It's like a party button. There's a free version and a paid version. So I don't know if you saw it, like the confetti there on the screen. I think this effect, I only have it free for a little bit. I think that's part of the paid version. So, and then yeah, it came up over here in chat that they saw me using these. So again, you know, they've got it programmed to, hey, when I'm using this, it's going to tell me some information over here as well. Here, right here, Blake raised his hand because he did have that extension. So you as a teacher can see when a student might have a question or wants to say a comment. So that's one thing you'll have to talk to your kids about if you do use Google Meet, about the protocol of how you want them to ask questions or to mute or unmute themselves, kind of just like with this training today. If I go back to Blake's account here, he can see the messages here. I didn't type this, but this is on the back end. This Google Meet party button has access to my Google Meet. So then it was able to program this to say this here and to push out this link for the extension. Again, the student, if they present now, they do have options, entire screen window or Chrome tab. Okay, now to leave that, me as a student, all I had to do was, or this was Blake's student account, was click that X and close out of the tab. What if he accidentally closed out of it? He can click back on it and go back in and join the Google Meet, okay? Why is he able to join right now? Because the teacher is still on. If the teacher wasn't there, he would get the error. Now let's say you're done with the class and you've told your kids bye and everyone's left but Blake. Now, what you want to make sure you do is you don't leave the meeting until everyone's left or you remove them. Google says that they are going to be pushing this out, that it ends the meeting for all, just like Zoom. That's not been pushed out yet, or maybe that'll make a liar out of me. Maybe it's pushed out now. But so if I say, bye class, and I leave and I close out of this, Blake will still be in there unless if I remove him or if he finally closes out of it. So how do you remove a student? If you come over here, do you see Blake's name here? And when I hover over it, I get an arrow. Click on that down arrow, and then I've got some options here. I can pin him to the screen if I want. If he's talking, I want to make sure I see him, or if there's other reasons you want to pin to the screen, you can. If I want to hide the participant, I could. Or I can even right here, remove him from the meeting. So, if everyone's left but Blake, and what I would want to do is make sure I hit remove from the meeting, because if I don't, he will still be in there after I leave. But let's say I left, then I could go back into the link. It'll show Blake still in there, and then I can go in and remove him. So if I click on remove from meeting, it gives me, hey, are you sure you want to remove him from the meeting? Yep, I do. Hit remove. And then he should be gone. He's gone from over here. And if I go over to his account, it says, hey, someone removed you from the meeting. Now, if you remove a student from a meeting, can they rejoin? They can. So if for some reason, if a student's being obnoxious or whatever, you can remove them from the meeting, but then they could rejoin by using the same link there in Google Classroom. So then when Blake's done, all he would need to do is click the X and it closes out of that tab, but he was already removed from the class Meet from the teacher. So as you can see, I'm still in there. At any time then I can just come up here and close if we're done. Now you saw some of these extensions here. The extensions I would have to make sure I have turned on up here in my extension bar. So again, if you're not for sure what extensions are, I have that chart there telling the difference. It was on an earlier slide, but basically an extension can manipulate another app out there or a web page to help you with some other functions. So in this case, with the hand raising, or with other emoticons here. So just click the X and leave the meeting, and I'm done with the meeting. So if for some reason you don't see this Meet link in your Google Classroom, if you come up here to the gear, if you click on the gear, this is where you can make it visible to students. It's under settings, the gear is the settings, and right here, make visible to students. Now you might again say, well, Lisa, I don't want kids to see this all the time. Well, remember, it's okay if the students see this link. They can access it, but they can't get in until you, the teacher, is in the meeting room. So if I don't want to make it visible to students, I can turn it off, but really if you're going to be using it, there's no need to have to remember to go and turn it on and off here. You can leave it on at all times, but remember the kids can only get into this meeting link once the once you are in the meeting room. So I'm looking at the last question in chat that Aaron asked. And you could, if other kids know that you're not meeting at that time, they wouldn't click on it. If you wanted to make sure it's secure and that kids can't join in while you're meeting, you could go up to your calendar or to the calendar app. I always have mine pinned at the top of my tab bar here. And what you could do is, let's say September 1st, we're going to meet. What's nice about this with calendar, I can make a Google Meet right from here. So if I click on add video conferencing, click on Google Meet, it creates a link here. I invite the parents. So if I say this was a meeting between Aaron and Lisa, or whoever, I could put the title there, and then I could put in their email addresses here. So then they can join the meet from this calendar link. This will also, you could also have it emailed to them as well. So right here, I could have it emailed. So then not only will my personal account get the notification, but it will pop up on my calendar. So I can add other, link attachments or links here in the description as well. And then I hit save. So it's saying, hey, do I want to send invitation emails to Google Calendar guests? I do. And then so if I go over to my personal account, it shows right here, Aaron and Lisa. Oh, I didn't put a time. So let's go back in and edit that. And we'll put 10 a.m. to 10:30, hit save. And then it's showing, here's the meeting. So if I click on that, this shows me, I can join by phone, or I can just click on this link right here to join the Google Meet as a participant and as the teacher. Then if I go to Lisa's Google account here, this is personal account, then I can go here to my September 1st. It shows, oh, here I got a meeting here. So I can say yes that I can attend. And when I do that, the circle will be colored in. And then you might say, well, what if I don't know when something is on there? You can go to your calendar or to your email, and you should get the email. And right here, I got the invitation, it's updated. So right here, it goes to their email as long as they have a Google account, or for the calendar, it would go to their calendar. But if they don't have a Google account, that's fine. It'll still go to their email. And right here, I can hit yes from here as well. I can join from here as well. So that's one option that might be a little bit more secure than having your students, or just having them join through the Google Classroom. Is that doable? That's doable. But to ensure, to make it more secure, my suggestion's going from the calendar, but again, there's multiple ways to do this. So you'll find what works best for you. And don't feel like how you do it is wrong because you do it differently than someone else. That's one great thing with technology, is the multiple ways to do different things.
So if you do that meet,
let's see.
If you do that meet, are you in a different?
Yeah, Melody, what you said, that is correct. And they're automatically in. When remote learning all started, my youngest son, who's 13, I knew at 10 o'clock he had a Google Meet with his teacher. And I'm like, well, where's the meeting link? I'm used to having it scheduled out in advance. Well, back then, the teachers couldn't send it out too far in advance, because if they did, the kids who had it could go ahead and join in and create a meeting. So without the teacher. So that's why the teacher couldn't send it out until, 5-10 minutes before class. And that made more work for the teacher. So in this case, going from Google Classroom, the teacher, you wouldn't have to create that link. You can worry about, getting your lessons or other things ready for your meeting. So great questions. With Google Meet, you don't approve them. How I've got my Zoom set up, I don't have to approve you. I don't have a waiting room. You're just in after you sign in. With Google Meet, they're just in when the teacher's in and they click that link. They're just in. So you don't have to approve them or any extra work on your end. I think I said this, but maybe I didn't. With Google Meet, right now you do have to make sure you remove them or that they've all left. Here in one of their updates, when you leave Google Meet, it should leave the meeting room for everyone, kind of like Zoom. But again, Meet is being developed more because we are using it so much more. Zoom was developed, better because that was their primary focus. Zoom is for video conferencing, and they've been around for a while. Whereas with the Google Meet, Google's had it, but hasn't had a real need to have all of these features like Zoom did, but they're catching up. So in the meantime, then what people do is create extensions. So the Nod extension I showed you about how, a student could just click on that button to say, hey, they have a question. Google, is seeing and tracking all this data. So sometimes these extensions that they see that a lot of people are using, they will incorporate into the app. And we're seeing that Google is going to incorporate a hand raising thing into the app. So you won't necessarily need all of these extensions. So again, if you want to look here, I've got some different extensions out there that you can click on, and it will give you more information. So what I found, a lot of teachers had to take attendance of the Google Meet, and they were doing paper, pen, and writing down or check mark who's all there for each time that they met. Well, there's an extension called Google Meet Attendance that you can add. Again, you may not be able to add it. You might have to talk to your Google admin or your district tech people to see if this is something you can add. Another thing I find with Google Meet, when I'm presenting my screen, I use this extension called Dual List. It just splits my screen into two windows, much nicer using this extension. But again, if you can play around with Google Meet with other teachers, do that. Or, if you don't have time to, let the kids know that you're new to Google Meet, you're learning as you go. And, not only do they see you as a teacher, they'll see you as a learner. And they'll be excited to be able to help you on your journey of learning about Google Meet as well, because then they're learning as well. And, what do they say? When we fail, that's when we remember, and that's where the learning occurs. And I know plenty of times that I failed using some of these different apps out there that I've learned and from my mistakes. So hopefully you will too. If you look here at slide 22, also here on slide 22, I've got some of the updates that it says possible updates in the near future. Again, hopefully the future's sooner than later. And right now, some of these features they're saying is only going to be on the enterprise account, and some, will be on the free G Suite apps for education account that we use. So right now, though, remember until September 30th, this is what Google's saying. They are pushing out all of these updates to everyone. After September 30th, they're saying some will only be available on the enterprise account, and some, and then the rest on our free accounts. So I know this is a lot of information on Google Meet. Again, for some of you who want a little bit more in depth with Google Meet, you might want to check out the video of the workshop recording on my YouTube channel that we went into depth more for 2 hours. I know this workshop's both Google Meet and Google Classroom, so that I've got time for Google Classroom. I'm going to switch gears here in a couple minutes and jump into Google Classroom, but I'll check the chat, see if there's any questions there that I haven't answered or that your classmates in this workshop today haven't answered either. So if need be, feel free to unmute as well. Okay, so Christine, yeah, great question. Yeah, parents don't have a Google account within your school, so it will be their own personal account out there. So yeah, with the Google Meet that they can't, but here's the thing, within the classroom, if the kids, I forget who asked that question earlier, the only people who can access the Google Classroom link are the students in that classroom. So, if you were meeting with parents and they were using that link, they would have to use that link via the Google Classroom of their child. Oh, if you schedule a Google meeting, yeah, from Google Calendar, yeah, they can have different emails. You know what? Let me try, I have another email. I like that question. Let me see if I add my Yahoo email. I think I've tried this before, but it's been a while. So then let me save it and I'll send an email. So then from my Yahoo account, I'm not signed into my Yahoo account on here, but I should be able to then access this. I got an email, and then I just may have to have the Google Meet app on my phone or device to get into the Google Meet. But yeah, it doesn't have to be a Google account here. Yeah, great question on Google Meet. Alyssa asked, how do you share the screen? So if I go back into the Google Meet, I could come over here to the Google Meet and go there. But again, if I go here, if I start or join a meeting here, I still have to send the link to people. So I can just name it test, hit continue. So I can start a Google Meet right from the app, but I have no one joining me right now. Why? Because I haven't sent this link out to anyone. So I can join now, but no one else is on. So if I hit join now, I've got it. And then I can add people right from here if I want. So really how my brain operates is using Google Classroom if it's with my students, using the Google Calendar invite to go there so that the link goes to the people. They have it ahead of time and it's on their calendar and in their email. So then to share the screen, all I would have to do is hit present now, and then I can share my screen. And if you're sharing your screen, you can see the students in a way, it's not like here on Zoom. You can have your share screen smaller, almost like similar to the grid view. It's not that big, or you can use dual list. If you use that extension dual list, you can share your screen on one side and then see your students on the other side. Yeah, if you have your extensions turned on the back end, it should work. That you can see, I'm looking at Melody's question here, that you can see, all the extensions come up. Now, the extensions, if you want some of these for the students, these will have to be pushed out for the students as well. Like this one, I didn't add to Blake's account, but this one I did. So the party button, I didn't add to Blake's account, but the nod extension I did. So if you're new to extensions as well, I can walk you through that here at the end, how to add extensions. But again, you might have to try it on your personal account and not your school account, because your school account, some districts have it where the Google admin can only add extensions pushed out to your Google accounts. So yeah, great questions. Any other questions on the Google Meet side? If you come up with some, feel free, drop them in chat, and hopefully we can get them answered before we leave here today. All right, again, let me go back here and check to see if, so we've gotten some people who've been able to fill out this introduction slide deck. Perfect. Again, don't panic if you don't know how to insert a selfie. But I am going to refer to this slide deck here in a little bit. So we'll jump on into Google Classroom here. And here with Google Classroom, here are some of the things that I'm going to go over here within how long do we have? About an hour left. So how does Google Classroom work? Here I'm on slide 25. And what's nice about this is where you can, like it says, post and share your work. I started to use Google Classroom in my class when we were face-to-face. The students didn't have to wait for me to get the day started, the lesson started for them. Once they came into the classroom, they could log into the computer and go into their Google Classroom, look at maybe past work, look at anything that I had posted, they could start working before I even started the class. Another thing that was life-changing for me and my students for Google Classroom was that if they were absent, I know as a teacher, I always had a hard time getting all of the absent students their work and not missing any instruction. If I forget to, share things with them that we covered, I put it all in Google Classroom, whether they were absent or remote learning, my face-to-face students, they all saw the same thing. I could push out recordings. So if I explained how to do something in the classroom, I could do a recording of it, push it out to them, and then they could watch it. They could also, even if they were in class face-to-face, would students still have questions? Yeah, they do. That's just the process of learning. So whether they were face-to-face or sick or remote learning, whatever it was, they could go back in and access a recording of it. And, the recordings, I tried to keep 5 minutes or less, because if you think about it, when you are trying to learn something, do you want to go back in and watch an hour, 2 hour long video? You don't. So I am recording this workshop, and how people are using it is they are, going back to specific places of what I talked about, some things if they needed a refresher course. Some educators who haven't been or aren't able to be here with us today, and they still want to learn about this, they can go back in and watch what they want. They can fast forward it, rewind it, whatever they need to do. So, it's not always just about paper copies, but you can, links to websites and videos. Do you have to post your videos that you share with your kids to YouTube? No. If you do, if you take a screencast of your lesson, you can post that video right into your Google Classroom. And then on the back end, I like how Google Drive is integrated with Classroom. So just like with Google Meet, when you record a meeting, it goes into your Google Drive. So again, my Google Drive, I pin up here. And if I go into my Google Drive, again, this is your file cabinet. I didn't have to organize my Google Classroom and or my Google Meet folder. So if I go into my, trying to look here. Okay, so the classroom, this was created. If you created a class, you'll see a classroom folder here. And then I should also see a Meet folder. This Meet recordings, I didn't create that. Google created that on the back end. And when I recorded some Google meetings, they are right here. So again, right here, I didn't have to organize that. And my Google Drive, I also have my classroom, and all of my classrooms that I'm a member of or that I've created, I have a class folder for all of those classes. So if I go here to classroom, again, I didn't create this folder. All of these folders are created here based off of when I joined a class or created a class. Okay. So then this talks about the workflow, and I'll try to get into that once I switch over to Google Classroom. So I'm going to jump into setting up your class. So if I go into Classroom, all I have to do is come up here to the plus sign, go into the waffle or type Classroom here. Some people even bookmark it here. You go the way that it makes sense for you. And then if I click on these 3 lines up here, this will get me to the home page. So on my home page, I've got these cards, and each card represents a class that I've created or that I am a member of. And you know, here my Google 101 class, whoops, it shows that I have 17 students. It shows how many students I've got in the different classes. I've also have some classes that have 0 students. And for those of you who might have used Google Classroom before, you might want to think about having a class that's your master class, like like a plan book that no students are in, but you go ahead and create your lessons in it, and then you can reuse lessons from that class. That's another option. Again, you will see multiple different ways of how people use Classroom. And that's why it's important that you do take time and explain to your students how you've set up your classroom, or if you make changes to it of what they can see and they can't see. Because again, they may be used to one style teacher using Google Classroom, whether it's this year or last year, and they may be confused a little bit. But it's nice because we all think differently, so it gives the teacher, you know, we're all about giving students voice and choice. This gives the teacher voice and choice as well. So right from here, if I want to start off creating a class, all I have to do is come up here and hit the plus button. Anytime in the Google apps, if you see the plus button, that means you, or in Google Classroom, the plus means you can create a class or join a class. So here as a teacher, if you want to create a class, click on create a class. Make sure if this is your first time in Classroom, it asks if you're a student or a teacher. Make sure you select the teacher. If you accidentally selected the student and you can't create a class, you'll have to let your Google admin know, and they'll have to change it on the back end. But if you put in as a teacher and you go in and create a class, the only thing when you create a class that's required is the class name. Now, can you change it later? You can. You can always change all of the stuff you can add or change later. And then once you start typing in a class name, this create button will go active. It's not active right now, it's grayed out because the required field is not filled out. And as soon as I put in a letter, it's letting me create it, but I don't need to create it. But if you need to create one, go ahead and create one. If a student needs to join a class, click on this plus button and hit join a class. All they have to do right here, this is showing them which account they're signed into. That's why this is another reason to make sure at school the kids under their school account are just signed into their school account here. If not, they could switch accounts, but it could get confusing, just like some of you might be confused by this. And then right here, all the student would have to do then is type in the class code. Now, you as a teacher, you could be a student in another teacher's classroom. And I highly suggest this if you work with, other teachers, or you want to get a feel of that, learning more about Google Classroom or seeing how another teacher uses it. See if you can join their class as a student. I know with some of the districts I am, that's what teachers are doing. If you're not, if you don't have other classes you can join, if you want to join my class, can you? Yes and no. You can join this classroom of mine if you are using your personal Google account. So if anybody wants to join it, you're more than welcome to. You would just have to put this code in here to join, and it will only allow you to join this using your personal account. If you try your school account, it'll say, hey, it's outside of the domain or the organization that you cannot join it. Kids will get that same error as well. So then if you are joining the class, all you would have to do is type that in. And if I go back here, go back to my landing page of Google Classroom, come up here to plus, join class, and then just type in that class code right there. Okay, if I click join, let's see what will happen. Okay, it won't let me join because I am the teacher of this class. So, but that's all you would have to do. And that's what, again, if some of you are trying to type this class code in with your school account, you probably get that error as well. Okay, so that's just joining or creating a class. And then once you've created a class or the kids have joined, they will see your classroom. They'll see posts, they'll see classwork. So it doesn't matter when you post it, as far as if you're worried about previous kids seeing it. That once they're in, they'll see everything that you posted since the beginning. So I know sometimes with students that I would get added to my class, a week later, or halfway into the quarter, that they would still go back and see assignments that they haven't done. But right now, that's how Google Classroom is set up. I don't know if you've been watching me going over here to these 3 lines. That takes me to the main menu, and that's how I've kind of gone back to the home page of Classroom, to my cards to see my different classes that I'm in. Sometimes you'll hear with Google these 3 lines. When you hover over it, it's kind of a grayed out circle. Some people call it the hamburger. Go to the hamburger, click on that, and that's the main menu. I mainly call it the 3 lines, and it takes me to a main menu. I can also go to the calendar. I can see all of my classes this way. I've got what I want to review, or here, the classes that I'm enrolled in, I can see what I have to do. So again, here's another place I can see things if I'm not directly in one class. So if you look at this, this Google 101 class, here's some assignments that are due. Do you see how these are linked, that the kids or you as a teacher can go right here and go to the assignment? It links you right to it. But normally you'll want to just go ahead and open it to go into your classroom. Once you're into your classroom, your landing page or your home page is the stream. Think of the stream, I think a teacher said they thought of the stream as like, their Facebook. That they were on Facebook and they're scrolling and they see updates that way. That's one way to look at it. But here on the stream, here's where you can, it's basically where you post announcements. You can share any information out there to the kids that isn't necessarily tied to an assignment. So right here, I can share something with the class. I would have to type something in here, and whether it's instructions, whatever it may be, I need to type something in here. Once I type it, then I can post it. But if I look up here, I can put this, since I'm in my Google 101 class, it's for sure going to those kids. I can't uncheck that. Then can I send it to other classrooms? I can. So I just click on other classrooms. But if I just want to send it to this classroom and certain students in this classroom, I can do that. So if I click on this drop down arrow and I go here to all students, let's say I only want this to be sent out to Blake and Lily. So if I do that, then it shows me 2 students is going to get this. When I select students, I cannot choose more than one class. If I choose more than one class, look what happens to students. It is grayed out. So if I want to differentiate and I only need this announcement to go out to certain students, I have to choose one class at a time. And then go select the students I want. And then right here, say a message, and then I can even add. I can add files for my Google Drive, link files here, attach a file, not in my Google Drive here, and even a YouTube video, okay? And then what I can do, I can post it right now, or if I hit that drop-down arrow, I can schedule it or save as a draft. What I would do sometimes ahead of time, I would go ahead and schedule it. Let's say I had some time today to plan for the rest of this week or next week or whatever. I could schedule it. So then what that would mean, it's kind of like if anybody schedules emails, it goes out at a certain time. So especially if I knew I was going to be gone the next day, it was a scheduled absence, I would schedule what I wanted to go out, and I would, push it out there right before the class started. Do you have to schedule things? No. This is where you have voice and choice in how you want to set up your Google Classroom. Over time, what I found, some students love Google Classroom because if I pushed out assignments ahead of time and they had free time in one of their classes, they could work ahead. Pros and cons to that. One thing, being in a computer classroom and teaching we created apps in one of my classes that if the kids had time to work on it ahead of time, I used them to help me help other students in the classroom. Now, did I choose who was going to do it? No. I just had leaders, rise up to the challenge, and they had time on their hands to work ahead. I saw that as a positive thing for students, because then their classmates thought, wow, they're really smart. They know all of this stuff. Whether they were or not, it was a big confidence booster in them. And some of the students who might not have always, other kids, didn't rely on them for help or for leadership roles, this gave them that opportunity without me picking and choosing the students. The students, chose for themselves that they liked working ahead. And if they saw other students do this, then more students jumped in. And I saw a lot of positives from it. I know some teachers don't like to assign some work out there ahead of time because they don't want kids working ahead. Again, you've got the choice in how you want to set this up. Another option you can do there is just save it as a draft. So let's say you started working on this and you didn't get time to go back and add everything, save it as a draft. Okay, so I'll go ahead and post this right here. I'll say, please watch this video, and then I can attach a video. I'll go to add, I'll go to YouTube, and then if I add a video here, if I know the channel I want, I can just put in the name, or if I know the video, or if I have the link, the URL to it, I can click on the URL. And the URL, that stands for Uniform Resource Locator. Uniform Resource Locator. It's the address, the web address for any file out there. So if I click here, if I don't have the URL, if I didn't copy and then paste it, I can, as you can see, I search for Gary Brooks. I click on Gary Brooks, let's say I want this video here, click on it, I selected it, it's got a blue line around it, and then click on add. When I do that, it just adds right to the announcement, and I'll go out and post it. Okay, so then this is what the students will see, and I'll flip over to the student side of it here in just a second. But right up here on the announcements, if I click on this drop down arrow, this is where my drafts go, or my scheduled. So if I had scheduled this out, it would say schedule. In this case, this is just a draft. I can go in and click on it and edit it at any time. I can go and delete it at any time if I so choose. So I've got those options there. Okay, so you've been listening to me for a long time here. What I want to do, I haven't explained everything in Stream yet. And I've got a challenge here for you to do. Again, as you can see, I've been switching over to Google Classroom. I'm not necessarily talking from the slide deck. Some of you might be working ahead looking at the slides like, oh, Lisa, I know this, I know this, I know this. Oh, here's a slide I don't know. So you're learning, hopefully, you're taking it all in and learning how you best to meet your needs. So if you go down here to slide 34, so I'm back in my slide deck, and I can stop sharing my screen here if that's easier for some of you to do this challenge. What I want you to do is create an announcement in Stream. Do you have to do this exactly? You don't. This is just my way for you to actively participate, see what you know, what you don't know, ask questions, put it in chat. If you already know all of this, here's another way for me to challenge you is to go check out settings. You might think, okay, Lisa, where's the settings? Okay, don't panic. If you go back up here to Google Classroom, the settings is under the gear. Click on the gear, that opens up settings, and take a look at the settings here, what you can do. And then hopefully from looking at the settings, you'll have some questions instead of me just talking at you for the full 2 hours here. So again, I'll try to be quiet unless if answering questions. We'll give you 5 to 10 minutes here. And if you need to take a break, I guess you can always easily take a break without me knowing. But even if we were face to face, I'd say get up and walk around, move, use the restroom, take a break when you need to. But slide 34, I've got a challenge here. Any questions about the challenge right now? Okay, go ahead and take a look at that. I'll stop sharing my screen for a few minutes here. And if you have questions, feel free to either unmute yourself or put them in chat. Oh, great question. Can you create a classroom? Do you have a Google account? You can create a Google Classroom. If not, you could join my classroom. I can throw my code back up there, but you would have to join through your personal account, Molly. So let me know if you want to join my classroom. All right. How'd you guys do on the challenge? Was it kind of nice to have the time to try something rather than the teacher or myself talking all the time? And what did you think about me utilizing the chat with students? Do you like that feature? No one unmuted, but I gave you that choice, but it seemed like, people use the chat. So here's another way that we can talk with our students. And again, the chat you might hear from students more in chat rather than them unmuting themselves. Again, it gives more choice for the students who might be a little afraid to unmute or talk. So another feature, whether you're face-to-face or remote learning, that we can use the chat feature even in Google Classroom. So all right, so people are putting some more things here in chat. Yeah, feel free. You guys can even, have a conversation among yourself. People can answer other people's questions. So, yeah, so Molly said having internet problems, that's always going to be an issue. I know sometimes I have internet problems, knock on wood right now. It seems to be working fine, but it's just a challenge, added challenge that we have out there. Yeah, Stephen, I see your question. If you want to stay on after to remind me of your question, I can help you with that question that you have. Okay, so a few people talked about calendar in here, so perfect. So let me, I'll jump into calendar in just a second here. If I go back to my classroom right here, and I go back to stream, so as you can see, we posted stuff. Here we've got a few people who were able to join the classroom. We've got Christine and Molly, perfect to join. Again, how did they join? Using their personal Google account, because most of the time you can't join another Google Classroom outside of your Google domain. I can't even join other people's Google Classroom, usually outside of my domain either. That's, again, to lock it down, to make it secure. So here's where we posted things. If at any time you as the teacher needs to, I could delete what Molly put on here, or even after Molly, let's say Molly's putting things on here that's not appropriate or is gibberish, like she just wants to keep talking back and forth. Molly, I hope you're okay with me using this as an example. At any time what I could do is I could mute Molly. What that allows the teacher to do is mute a student. They can still submit work. So if Molly has work to do, she can still submit it. Other students won't see it. She won't be able to reply to classmates' work, or she won't be able to comment or post on here. But Molly, don't worry, I won't mute you. Same thing with Christine. I could do that as well. But as you can see here, she put in a video for me to watch and a Google form for me to fill out after watching the video. So again,
Lisa, we can't see your screen.
Tied to an assignment, you're just announcing it. Perfect place to put it. So thank you, Christine and Molly, for doing that. Some of you who went up here to the gear.
Lisa, we can't see your screen.
You didn't have time. You also have the option of, so right now when I post to the stream, you haven't seen me post classwork yet, but I've got it to show condensed notification. You have choice over that matter. You can hide the notification altogether, or you could show attachments and details. I'm going to put condensed, and I'll show you the difference here. The stream, here's where you can control it for your whole entire class. I've set it up where students can post and comment. So we saw Christine and Molly be able to post. If they wanted to, they could comment on some of my posts or each other's post. And if they want to do that, go for it. If I only want them to comment, I could do that. They could comment on my post. They wouldn't be able to create new posts like Christine and Molly just did. So again, you can turn this on and off at any time. If I wanted to, if I don't want students to do either of these, I can just set it up where the teachers can post or comment. So you've got some choice there. I'll keep it the same. So what that means here, let me reload my page here.
Hey, Lisa.
Could you
on
maybe
the
share your
stream
screen?
then. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Thank you so much. And I see people you put it in chat too, and I didn't see it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My apologies. So I was just talking about the gear up here and where I can change the stream and the classwork on the stream. So if I go right here, then I've got the students can post and comment on each other. And right here, it also shows, I've got it set up where it shows a condensed notification. Hey, the teacher posted a new assignment. And on my condensed notification, it shows that one student. If I click on that, it shows me what student got that condensed notification. Okay, and I posted the assignment on the classwork page, but this just shows the notification on the stream. And then here on the stream, you know, students can comment back and forth. So if you're having a lot of comments back and forth, let's say I had 30 class comments, it would say 30 right here. I don't know if you see where my mouse is. And then I could click on that and see all 30 of them. If I needed to, again, I can delete any comment if I need to, or I can mute a student. Let's say after Blake and I talked 2 or 3 different times about what he should post here, and he's still not following guidelines, I can mute him. If you mute a student, what's nice about this, it shows the speaker icon, and it's red with a line through it saying that I muted Blake. If I want to, I can unmute him at any time. If I don't delete this, I can unmute him here. If I delete this, then I can always unmute him under the People tab. So right here, we've got this for stream. So we've got Christine posting this and Molly posting that. And then as you can see, Christine deleted where she put the message that I need to share my screen. So thank you, Christine. So then if I go over here to people, I can look down here. Do you see where it says Blake right here? I can mute him from here, or I can unmute him. So right here it shows mute. So I would need to select Blake right here and actions. Come up here to actions. And this is where I can unmute him or mute him, or I can remove him from the class if I want to. Okay. So if you don't want, you know how we had some people join the classroom using the class code. If you don't like that, if you want, you can have them join by inviting the student. You can type in their name or email here. If they're already in your Google account, once you start typing a name, it should pop up and you can select them, but they will not, this just invites them to your classroom. They will not automatically be in your classroom until they accept the invitation. Same thing with parents. If you invite the guardians to any of your classes, you can, you have to type in the email or their name. And then if it populates their email here, you can select it and then invite them. But again, to invite them to your classroom, they would have to accept the invitation. Okay. Another thing under the People tab, since we're here, here we've talked about students and then actions. For some reason, my brain, it took it a while for me to realize, or for me to remember that under actions here, I can email, remove, or unmute or mute the student. But I just have to click on the student or click on all of them. And then I have those choices there. If I come up here, if you co-teach a classroom or you have a special ed teacher or a specials teacher that's helping you out in your classroom, you could invite them to be part of your class. Again, they have to be in your same Google domain. And if you do invite them to your class, they can do everything you can except actually delete the class. So if you're afraid that they're going to maybe put something out there that you don't want it to, or they're so new to classroom that they're learning it and you don't want them to make mistakes on yours, the workaround would be to add them as a student or have them join your classroom as a student. when I had teacher aides in my classroom that worked one-on-one with students, I would put not only the students in the class, but I would have them join with their school account. They would join my classroom as a student, so that if for some reason their student that they were working with was absent, they could still help me out with other students in the class that could use their help, rather than just sitting there and not doing anything because they didn't have access to the Google Classroom. So again, there's workarounds, there's things you're going to see that works better for you than others. Again, it gives you a lot of choice. So that was the People tab. And then the Stream tab, this is where you can post and comment, and you have choice over that by going up here to the gear and going to Settings. Now, under the People tab, I talked about inviting guardians. If you invite guardians, and that's pros and cons for that as well, what do they see? Well, they will get an email summary of missing work for their child, upcoming work, and class activity. So they only see these three things. Personally, as a parent, what I do when I want to see Blake's Google Classroom for school, I have him log in, and then I can have a conversation with him, and he can talk about different projects that he's working on in his Google Classroom. So I don't necessarily like the email summary because, again, my email gets overloaded at times, and I sometimes just, I don't even go back and look at it unless if I know there's a problem. I just mainly go have a conversation with Blake. Hey, log into your Google Classroom, let's look, or, you know, during remote learning, helping him as much as I could with that. But here I was a working parent during the day, so I will tell you, I think I failed in helping my child, my youngest child, with remote learning earlier this year. So hopefully learn some new things from that. So then if we go to remote learning this fall, I can only be better, right? So that was the guardians. Okay, the guardian summary. So again, maybe you and your school district or your PLC group that you work with, the other teachers, you guys decide whether you're going to invite guardians or not. So that is under the class settings there too. Okay. So any other questions about Stream? So yeah, I appreciate all you guys telling me that you couldn't see my screen. Again, if anybody feels comfortable, always unmute. It is perfectly fine. So as you can see, I make mistakes all the time too. So hopefully that will make you feel a little bit better as you're trying some new things. Because again, some of you out there, you know, you're wanting to concentrate on your content that you're working with your students, the curriculum, and this technology is thrown in there, and you've got to incorporate that as well. So again, remember to breathe and just let your students know you're learning, constantly learning, that you will make mistakes. All right, so let's go on to classwork then. Under classwork, this is where you will assign any work that you give the students. Again, you got choice of how this will look. You can come up here to create. Again, here's the plus button. So the more you use the different apps within the G Suite Apps for Education account, you'll see anytime you see the plus button, that means to add something, create, and click on it to see what drop-down menu shows up. So right here, I can create an assignment, I can do a quiz assignment, I can question, material, or reuse post. I can also create a topic here as well. So let me just jump into creating an assignment. So again, when you create an assignment, if I come over here, hit assign, I can't assign it until a title. A title is required. So if this is my 6th assignment, what I can do here is I'll put the 6th assignment in and then give it a name. Let's say All About Me assignment. Here, instructions, you could put the instructions here, even though you have it on The files, again, with technology, what I've learned is the more places I can have instructions, the better, because some kids, again, might like to access it at different places. So you can't hurt where you put it. Also during remote learning, if your school goes to that, if it already hasn't, you could put here in instructions, you're not only, teaching the child, the students, but you're also coaching the parents. So what you could put here is put questions for the parents, that are able to work with their child, that you can put questions here that they could even ask their child. It would be maybe questions you would ask, because again, we have many parents who are out there who they don't have the education background like you do. So is that more work on your part? It is. It's kind of just looking at, your lesson plans and seeing what you would have discussions or questions you would ask the students that you could put here to help out those parents. And I know some of the parents who are able to help out, they greatly appreciated that. And then if you do that, you'll have to make sure you let them know that, hey, I'm putting some additional questions you could ask your child right here. Also then, I can go here to add, just like what I did earlier, and I can add something for my Google Drive. So when I said earlier, when I was on stream, I added that YouTube video. So if I want to add this collaborative Google slide deck. So I pushed it out to you through the link, but usually within the classroom setting, you'll push it out through Google Classroom. So if I click on Insert, right here, I've got this slide deck that I pushed out to you. Now, all of you should be able to edit that. If you edit that, if that's what you want all of the students to be able to do, all you have to do is here, students can edit file. Now, again, when I remember it like it was yesterday, when I pushed out one of my first assignments to the students in Google Classroom, I had questions for them to answer. I gave it all to them as edit file, okay? So remember, I was learning. Well, what happened to that, and they were learning too, someone was deleting questions, and they weren't doing it on purpose, because we got a laugh out of it, and like, oh, what happened to it? I only have these 2 questions. And then another kid would say, oh, so do I. I had that question there earlier and now it's gone. So if you give it editing file rights, they have access to go delete, edit anything on that document or that file. If I only want them to view it, I would hit view file. If I want them to make a copy for each student, what would happen then if I made a copy for each student? Right here, we wouldn't be able to see real time how everyone's collaborating on this slide deck. So if you're wanting to push it out where all students can edit the file, push it out that way. Now, let's say you're wanting to push it out for some students that edit the file, but not everyone. What you could do is come up here to all students and select, okay, what students are working on this file, and just click on which ones, so you can send it out for these certain students, and then it'll show 16 students. Or let's say you only wanted, 2 or 3 students to work on this. Then push it out like that, and then those 4 students will get it, okay? So you've got choice in the matter. I'll just push it out to Blake here. And then right here, I can assign it points. I can make it ungraded if I want it to. Due date, put a due date here. Do you have to? You don't. But I don't know about your students, but my students, if they didn't see a due date to it, they wouldn't do it, okay? So again, that was another thing I learned, that I always put a due date, but here's the thing. Even though I pushed it out, and let's say that I want it to be due the end of the week. It comes August 14th and I see, oh, they still need more time. Can I go back in and change that? I can. You can too. So, and then you can add a time there too. Topic. I can put it under a topic if I want. This is all about me. So let's say this is maybe back to school, introduction. If I don't see a topic here, I can create a topic right from here, or I don't even have to put it under a topic. So right now I just won't put it under a topic. I can also add a rubric to this as well, or if this was an English paper, I could check for plagiarism. Now, again, for plagiarism, I love this feature. We only get 3 free per class. So if you have the enterprise account, it's unlimited. If you have the free account, just the regular G Suite apps for education, and again, a majority of districts have that, that you only get to use the check plagiarism feature 3 times per class. So if you use this classroom all year, you got 3 times all year. A workaround that I tell teachers is some teachers will create a classroom, a fresh one each quarter. So then if they create a new classroom each quarter, then they'll have 3 plagiarism checks each quarter, especially if you're an English teacher, a teacher who would like that feature. That might be a workaround. And there's pros and cons for if your district allows you to create a classroom each quarter. The pros would be then, the stream and or classwork is quarter by quarter. So lots of things to think about here. So if I want to, I just added the Google Slides. I'm coming back over here where I add. I just added the Google Slides. It says students can edit file. If I want to, I can add something else where they view only. So if I want them to, the slide deck I shared out with you today, if I want to share with the kids, I can go ahead and insert it. And again, if I don't want them to change anything on it, then I have them view the file, okay? And then if I want to add something, let's say I wanted to create a Google drawing, maybe a self-portrait of themselves using a Google drawing, I can create it from here if I want. If not, I can go back here to add. How I usually operated with my classroom is I have everything created ahead of time. So again, I could add a YouTube video, a file, or a link. Let me go back to my Google Drive and let me see if I have a Google drawing that I can use. Let me see about searching. Let's just say this is the drawing. I'll choose that one. I don't know what that one is, but I'll choose that one, hit insert. And this Google drawing, what I can do, I would have, before I assign it, I might want to create a title here for it. So I want to add it, the All About Me. And I've got that. Let me go back here. Whoops, go back to classroom. Let me reload it, then it should populate with the new title. Oh, so let me go to classwork. So if that happens to you, so what just happened was I was in the assignment and when I reloaded it, it took me back to the classwork page. Don't panic, you didn't lose everything you just have been spending your time working on. It saved it as a draft. So if I want to click on that, and what I can do, I can click on these 3 circles, buttons here, and I can go in and edit it. So right here, okay, so it added 2 of these here. So what I can do, I can just click X, delete that. So now I only have All About Me. And let me have this make a copy for each student. Let's say I wanted them to get started. I had a little template that I wanted them to get started on. I would make a copy for each student because I don't want the kids to collaborate on this. This is something they're making. Other kids can't see what they're doing. Okay, so I've added 3 different files here. It shows what file, what app I used. It shows here, edit file, view file, and make a copy for each student. Almost everything on here, you can go back in and change and edit. I'll show you one thing that you can't, but there is a workaround. So again, right now, if I want to go ahead and assign this, if not, I can go ahead and schedule it or save it as a draft. So I'll go ahead and assign it here. And when I assign it, so it's assigned out there. It is showing that it's just here on my classwork page. It's not under a topic. If I want to move it under a topic, I can. It's showing 0s turned in and 1 assigned. Now, if I assigned it to more students, it would push that out and say 16 students or whatever. So let me switch to the Blake's account. So my string was updated. So it shows I have it where it's condensed notification. So this is the students. Right here where my mouse is shows the teacher posted a new assignment. Me, the teacher, did not have to type this. Again, on the back end, I have it show condensed notifications. It shows. If Blake wants to, he could click here and go into it. If not, he can go to his classwork and he can either go by topic here or he can go to the assignment right here and he can see it, view assignment. Okay. So under view assignment, then he sees this is his work. This is what made a copy. And this is what's nice about Google is it puts his name on it with the title. So if this was the template I wanted them to get started on, if I had directions, I could still add the directions up here. I could have the directions there in Google Classroom as well. And then he could finish completing this if he needed to. While he is working on this, you, the teacher, can see what he's doing when you push this out through Google Classroom. Even though he hasn't turned this in, you can see real time, you know, and this is a great feature whether you are face-to-face or during remote learning. So that was make a copy. Then over here, one was, this was editable file that he and his classmates can edit this file. And then right here, we've got it where then the students can only view. And what I like about this, it says view only. And then if I click here, then we can see who's on this, okay? So again, he can change this real time. And then when he's ready, he can, if he's done with this Google Drawings, he can hit turn in and hit turn in, okay? He would be able to hit class comments here if he wasn't muted, but right now, the teacher's got him muted. So his comment, he can't comment for the whole class to see. But if he's having issues or has a question, he can put a comment right here on the assignment. It's private, that goes to the teacher, and the teacher can respond to him privately on this assignment as well. But like Molly and some of the other people who were able to join this classroom, they would be able to hit class comments here. But I guess I didn't share this assignment with the other people in this class. So I could go back and do that. So if I want to go back and edit this and send this out to the other students in this classroom. So Christine, we had Molly, and I think Miss Daniels here. So then what I can do, I've selected 3 more, so I can save it. So then this will go out to them as well. If I missed anyone else that joined the classroom, let me know and I can put you on there. But I think that was all. Okay. So again, calendar. Let me talk about that. I almost forgot. The calendar, you don't have to add the calendar. It is already added on the back end. So if that was the teacher side, let me go to the student side of it. So if Blake goes to his calendar here, I clicked on Google 101 here. I'll go to the classwork page. I can go to the calendar from the app or from the classroom. And when I do that, it brings up the class over here. So he's in a couple different classrooms here. And then it shows on here what assignments are due. So right now, it's showing that these assignments are due on the 12th and the 13th. The did I not put the 14th as the due date? I'll have to go back in and take a look to see if I made a mistake on that. So the students can see on their end from their calendar visually what's due. If there's no time here, you didn't put a time. You just put a due date. So they have that there. So that's the calendar. They can go to their Meet link here as well. But as you can see, we're running out of time with this. I mean, this could have easily been anywhere from 4 to 6 hours workshop, but hopefully this will get you started on your journey of using Google Meet or Google Calendar, or, you know, reduce your stress a little bit, or bring down your blood pressure some by having this introduction here. I do have with this slide deck, I had some other challenges here, so feel free to take a look at that. I've got other information here. Feel free to look through. If you want to go to the YouTube channel, and I think I even have a workshop that was maybe recorded for 4 hours on Google Classroom and Meet that you could follow along, that we go more in depth. Again, slide 63 and 64, I've got some other resources here for you. Feel free to take a look at them. But again, sometimes with me not pointing them out, you might not necessarily go, but again, it's there if you've got the time. And I'll end with this, but I know there's a few more questions in chat that I'll try to get to as well, but I did then what I knew how to do. Now that I know better, I do better. And this is a quote by Maya Angelou. And I hope that you look at all of this and don't be so hard on yourself. You know, you're learning as you go. You know, hopefully you reflect every year in your teaching, and you don't always do the same assignments. You modify them, you add things, you change them. So same thing with trying to incorporate technology in your curriculum. Just don't be so hard on yourself. So good luck this school year, and I will stay on here to get those questions answered and to answer any other questions. Also, there's 2 evaluations here on slide 66. Here's a quick, I think, 4-question evaluation to fill out on this presentation today. And then if you want to get your PD hours. So I guess if you haven't heard anything else from this workshop today, listen, hopefully you're listening right now. This is the evaluation you will get. It's not going to come through your email, but ROE 11 asked me to send it out to you or put it in this slide deck. So it's right here in the slide notes. I'm saying right here. It's at the bottom. I don't know if you see my mouse. It's in the notes here. Click on that, and that will take you to the ISB evaluation. So here's this evaluation. I think it's about 4 questions here. Give us feedback, and then also the ISB evaluation is here, and this is what you will need to fill out as well to get your PD hours. Okay. Any questions about the evaluations? Oh, and Christine, did you put it in? She put a link there. Is that the link to the slide deck? Yeah. Okay, thank you for doing that. So feel free to go when you need to. If you have questions, stay on. But again, thank you for being with me today. And I've got the time, yeah, correct, right? We were supposed to end at 11, so I do want to honor that, but I've got a little bit of time before my next workshop. And my next workshop is actually face-to-face this afternoon. So I will go ahead and stop recording this so that